Good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1. This is News First, where the people come first. Let's first take a look at your headlines.
News First headlines. Main sponsor.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
Another loan of $1 billion from India. Indian External Affairs Minister at an IOC filling station. A group including Indian pilots granted diplomatic immunity through the Dornier Agreement. The latest addition to the list of queues to purchase dal observed. Will Ranil be appointed the next Prime Minister? Will a national government be established? Switching power between political allies will not provide solutions to the issues of the nation, says the opposition leader. Will Smith slaps comedian Chris Rock at the 94th Academy Awards. Oh wow! Oh wow! Wow!
News First headlines. Main sponsor.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
Now on to your top story. Reuters reported that Sri Lanka has sought an additional credit line of $1 billion from India to import essentials, as the Indian Foreign Minister began talks with the government of its neighbour. According to Reuters, New Delhi has indicated it would meet the request for the new line to be used for importing essential items such as rice, wheat flour, pulses, sugar and medicine. The second source said this will be on top of the $1 billion credit line already pledged by India. Reuters report said Sri Lanka's finance and foreign ministries as well as India's foreign ministry did not immediately respond to requests for comment. If the additional credit line of $1 billion is also obtained from India, the total credit facility provided by India to Sri Lanka will exceed $3.4 billion US.
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, who is in Sri Lanka on a 3-day official visit to attend the BIMSTEC summit, called on President Gotabaya Rajapaksa this afternoon. The President's media division said that during the meeting, President Rajapaksa thanked Dr. S. Jaishankar for the $1 billion credit line to Sri Lanka for the importation of food, medicine and other essentials. In a tweet, Dr. S. Jaishankar said that during the meeting, various dimensions of the close neighbourly relationship were reviewed, adding that he assured President Gotabaya Rajapaksa of India's continued cooperation and understanding. The Indian External Affairs Minister called on Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa at the Temple Trees and attended an online event to declare open the Jaffna Cultural Centre established under Indian funds. The construction of the Jaffna Cultural Centre cost India a sum of 1.6 billion rupees. Dr. Jaishankar's meeting with Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa also witnessed the signing of an agreement on supporting Buddhist culture and heritage. During the meeting, Dr. Jaishankar engaged in a virtual tour of an ongoing camp in Jaffna on fitting Jaipur foot. Earlier in the day, the Indian External Affairs Minister met with Finance Minister Basil Rajapaksa on the sidelines of the BIMSTEC summit. Dr. Jaishankar tweeted that he discussed the economic situation in Sri Lanka and India's supportive response, adding, and I quote, "We will continue to be guided by neighbourhood first," unquote. Dr. S. Jaishankar also visited a Lanka IOC filling station located down Horton Place in Colombo this morning. He was briefed by Lanka IOC Managing Director Manoj Gupta on the fuel supply situation during the visit. In a tweet, the Indian External Affairs Minister said, quote, "Indian line of credit of $500 million is helping Sri Lankan people in their everyday life," unquote. Dr. Jaishankar arrived in Sri Lanka last night ahead of the March 30th BIMSTEC summit hosted in Colombo.
While the Indian External Minister tours the filling stations of the country, a solution is yet to be provided to the shortage of diesel in the country. People of Kapuatta Jayala blocked the Negombo Road this morning demanding diesel.
A Bowser carrying 95 petrol came to this filling station, Super Petrol. However, ordinary people don't have diesel for their vehicles. We have been in queues for 4 days. Machines are stuck in the roads. That is why we took to the streets today. We have been in diesel queues for 5 days. We have no way of feeding our children. I have 2 kids. I have no way of buying milk powder for them.
Vehicular movement along the Nigambu road was disrupted due to the movement. After the police assured the availability of diesel, the group dispersed. Residents of Novarelia also engaged in a protest, blocking a road near the Dharmapala roundabout. The group ended the protest after the police engaged in a discussion. While certain groups are protesting against the shortage of diesel, other factions are waiting in queues to purchase fuel.
Since the day Minister Gamini Lokuge was sworn in as the Minister of Energy, he promised to solve the fuel shortage on several occasions.
polling සම්පූර්ණයෙන් නැති වෙලයි තෙල් වල හිඟයක් ඇති වෙන්නේ නැහැ අපිට ඉන්දියානු ක්‍රෙඩිට් ලයින් එකෙන් තෙල් එනවා ලබන 20 වෙනිදා වෙනකොට හරියට තෙල් බෙදුන දවස් දෙකකින් 20 වෙනිදා පස්සේ දිගටම තෙල් නැව 10ක් විතර එන්න තියෙනවා ඉන්දියන් ණය ආධාරයට මම විශ්වාස කරනවා අද 11 12 වෙනකොට සෑම ෂෙඩ් එකකටම බවුසර් දෙක ගානේ හම්බ වෙයි කියලා.
However, fuel queues can be seen everywhere in the country.
Fuel distribution process is not taking place properly. We are distributing whatever fuel we get. Even though they say that they are sending fuel, they are not sending enough. We don't get diesel at all. Our stocks were over by yesterday morning. We ran out of fuel yesterday. Even though the minister claims that they are sending fuel, we didn't get any. Our income has reduced drastically. We also get the same amount of stocks as the other filling stations. We have ordered 4 loads of diesel, but we only get 1. Despite the remarks made by filling station owners, the government says that they have taken the necessary measures to import adequate stocks of fuel. By this morning, they have unloaded 35,300 metric tons of petrol from the Ocean Autumn vessel. In addition to these, we have made arrangements to bring 21,600 metric tons of diesel and 22,190 metric tons of jet fuel by tomorrow. This vessel is already in our outer port. Then we are expecting another vessel carrying 37,300 metric tons of diesel to arrive by tomorrow. Then by the 2nd of April, we have made arrangements to get 40,000 metric tons of diesel through the Indian credit line facility. If someone is saying that there won't be fuel by the upcoming festive season, it is nothing but a mere statement to deceive the public. We have made the relevant orders for the required amounts of fuel, and some of those vessels carrying fuel have already arrived at our port. As we speak, they are unloading the fuel from these vessels.
The shortage in the country remains the same. Even though the shop in Hambantota finally received gas after months, it was not sufficient to meet the demand of the people that were staying in line. A man that purchased firewood because gas was not available was captured in our cameras. People in Kandy stayed in queues earlier this morning after receiving information that gas will be supplied to a shop in the area. However, so many of the residents who stayed in queues for hours had to go back empty-handed.
There is no point in blaming the workers who distribute gas. They give us whatever they get. The hierarchy must be held responsible for this. They should know to send us a steady supply. We only received 45 gas cylinders. The members of parliament are enjoying a lavish life while the people are suffering. We are extremely displeased about having to stay in these queues. All our work is halted because we have to stand in queues for gas. We have no way of reporting to work. Once we finally get gas, there is no rice at home.
A consignment carrying 3,500 metric tons of gas arrived in Vattala today. This consignment is set to be distributed throughout the island tomorrow.
The Ceylon Electricity Board has decided to impose a 7.5-hour power cut tomorrow. Accordingly, all areas announced by the Ceylon Electricity Board will experience a power cut of 5 hours between 8:30 am and 6:30 pm tomorrow. Such areas will also experience a power cut of 2.5 hours between 6 pm and 11 pm. People are made to stand in queues once again to purchase daily essentials from Satasa that are given at a concessionary rate. This was the situation at the Baddegama Satasa outlet this morning.
We had to stay in queues for more than 2 hours. Look how warm it is today. If they can't do this properly, they should step down and allow someone capable to run the country. Poverty is the reason for all these sufferings. We have to stay in queues to obtain a kilo of sugar because we are poor.
Residents of Balapitia also had to stay in line at the Sadasa outlet to obtain their essentials.
Now, Indian and Sri Lankan Navy engaged in a naval exercise off the seas of Colombo today.
The bilateral naval exercise between the Sri Lankan Navy and the Indian Navy in the seas off Colombo continued today as well. The exercise is being conducted by Sri Lanka naval ship Sayurala and the shipborne advanced light helicopter IN-715 of Indian naval ship Sharda, which arrived in Colombo on the 23rd of March. A group of personnel from Sri Lanka Air Force have also joined the exercise. This bilateral naval exercise is expected to increase operational readiness and interoperability between both navies when conducting coordinated search and rescue operations, anti-smuggling operations in the Indian Ocean region, as well as to strengthen cooperation between both partners. Further, this kind of naval exercises will pave the way to find collective solutions to common maritime challenges in the Indian Ocean region as well.
US Ambassador to Sri Lanka Julie J. Chung told President Gotabaya Rajapaksa that steps will be taken to provide financial assistance for renewable energy projects through the United States Agency for International Development or USAID. The ambassador made these remarks when she met with President Gotabaya Rajapaksa today. The president has informed Ambassador Julie Chung of the reasons that caused an economic downfall in Sri Lanka. He also conveyed to her that Sri Lanka hopes to receive the support of the United States government when liaising with International Monetary Fund. The President's media division stated that the US Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Julie Chung, has praised the government's decision to obtain the support of the International Monetary Fund. Victoria Nuland, the US Under-Secretary of State for Political Affairs, who was on an arrival visit to Sri Lanka recently, had stated that the American government will commit to financing solar power projects in Sri Lanka worth $19 million.
Senior officials from the foreign and trade ministries of the 7 BIMSTEC nations met today. The meeting was held in the run-up to this year's BIMSTEC summit that is to be held on Wednesday.
Asia is increasingly the center of world economy. By 2040, the continent is projected to account for more than half of the global GDP and about 40% of global consumption. The Bay of Bengal has today taken center stage in international politics due to its economic and geostrategic importance. The busiest international shipping route in the world lies in the Indian Ocean just south of Sri Lanka. About 40,000 ships ply this route every year, and half the global traffic in containerized cargo and 75% of fossil fuel traverse this area sea route. I propose that the BIMSTEC must seize the opportunities of new growth patterns and accelerate activities of trade and investment within our region.
BIMSTEC Secretary General Tenzin Lekpel attended this morning's event in person.
Day after, on the 30th of March 2022, BIMSTEC will be creating a moment of history when the leaders of the 7 member states comes together to sign the BIMSTEC Charter. Along with the Charter, we are happy to report that the member states will also be signing 3 other important legal documents and adopt the master plan that will further strengthen our organization.
This year's summit is being held in hybrid format after it was postponed twice by Sri Lanka last year.
Now tomorrow a special ministerial meeting will be held in line with Wednesday's summit. What we have heard so far is that President Gotabaya Rajapaksa will chair Wednesday's summit, while Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi is also expected to join online. News First will continue to keep you updated with these developments from the BIMSTEC summit. I'm Hassan Shazuli signing off from the BMRCH in Colombo.
The Jaffna Cultural Centre was declared open to the general public today. Visiting Indian Foreign Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar, Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka Gopal Bagle and the Indian delegation took part in the event. An MOU on promotion of Buddhist ties between India and Sri Lanka was also signed during the hybrid event. Meanwhile, Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar was met by representatives of Tamil political parties this evening. The meeting was held at the Indian House in Colombo. The Tamil National Alliance, Tamil Progressive Alliance and the Ceylon Working Congress met with Dr. S. Jaishankar.
News First with the people.
We must now cross over for a short commercial break. Do stay tuned.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
Register today for a Zoom workshop on new technology in Sinhala.
Internet of Things for modern agriculture. 31st March at 3 p.m.
Register via 0777 6000020.
Organized by Slit Institute.
Tech Bus.
Main sponsor.
Slit Knowledge University, challenging convention and redefining education.
Welcome back to News First. Now, while the effects of the fertilizer crisis are being felt among farmers and the consumers, those in the plantation sector are also feeling the blow.
Tea is the second most exported item of the country after apparel. In 2021, Sri Lanka earned a sum of $1.3 billion from tea exports. However, tea harvests have recorded a 13-year low in yield due to the fertilizer crisis. A reduction of export revenue from tea will further widen the trade deficit of the country.
From the figures we see for 2 months, we have had a significant drop in crop production. Our current problem is, one is the extremely high markup of the fertilizer. From about 30,000 rupees per ton of urea metric ton. Now the current rates that they are quoting is about 500,000 rupees. And then at these prices, it's simply not economical and it's not affordable to apply fertilizer at these rates.
The reduction in yield coupled with exponential rise in the fuel, packaging and other operational costs have led to an increase in the price of Sri Lankan tea. Experts point out that the rising price of tea in Sri Lanka could lead to buyers moving out to suppliers from countries in the region.
Meanwhile, silent vigils are being held across the country amidst mounting issues that are yet to be resolved.
This was the situation in Kohuala today.
Today, the country, because the politicians who are governing us are incompetent, selfish and corrupt. Or they haven't stood in solidarity with any one of the poor people, not even once. They are enjoying themselves. All 225 people must get out and get some competent people in to run this country who are not greedy. People don't have to eat.
Another silent protest took place in Hendala-Battala as well.
I hope the President and the Prime Minister both see what is happening. They are just turning a blind eye and a deaf ear to what is happening. We are suffering. As citizens, we are suffering. 6.9 million didn't give the vote for this to happen. They are filling their pockets and we are left on the street. That is all what I have to do. Wake up, President and Prime Minister, wake up and do your duty by the country without sleeping.
Given today's situation, we are left with no option but to stage this protest. The people are finding it difficult to bear the rising cost of living. There is no milk powder, fuel. Where is the economy headed? How can the people get by? There are no dollars. How can the goods be imported to Sri Lanka? Because of this, the country is falling. This requires a different solution.
People are waiting in line for hours, anticipating to obtain their essentials. Even under such circumstances, the focus of our political leaders was driven to a completely different topic today. Will they form a national government? Will Ranil Wickremesinghe be the next Prime Minister? This was the talk of the town at the political stage today.
අනේ එතුමාට අගමැතිකම දෙන්න තරම් මේ මොකක් හරි මොලේ අමාරුවක් එහෙම අපේ පක්ෂේවත් මන් දන්නේ නැහැ කිසිම කෙනෙකුට තියෙයිද කියලා. එහෙම කිසිම අවශ්‍යතාවයක් නැහැ. එතුමා ගැන බොහොම පැහැදිලිව මම කියන්න ඕන එතුමා පැරණිම පක්ෂයක්.
True that he is from the oldest party in the country. It was actually the first political party in the country. However, they couldn't secure one seat in parliament. Tell me one good reason why we should appoint him as the Prime Minister.
මේ මන්ත්‍රීතුමා අගමැති කර අපිට
අනිත් එක තමයි ලංකාවේ දැනට අගමැති.
We have the best person in the Prime Ministerial seat right now. We don't even consider him. We have the best and the most ideal person in the Prime Ministerial position.
අගමැතිකම දරීමට වඩාම සුදුසුකම් තියෙන වඩාම දක්ෂ පුද්ගලයා තමයි අද අගමැති පුටුවේ වාඩි වෙලා ඉන්නේ. ආර්ථික උපදේශකයාගේ රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහත්තයා.
නෑ ඒක සර්වපාක්ෂික.
We didn't convene the all-party conference with the intention of establishing a national government. Irrespective of the fact whether a person is in the opposition or in the ruling party, we are ready to listen to everyone. If their intentions are pure and if we feel that it is a good option, we will not hesitate to implement. We don't have any intention of creating a national government, and our government is not desperate to call for such national alliance.
එහෙම නැතුව ජාතික ආණ්ඩුව හදන්න තරම් අපි වැටලා නැහැ.
If the government does not get assistance from other factions when solving this economic crisis, the people will face the brunt of inflation and a food shortage. The people would face severe hardships after the Sinhalese and Tamil New Year.
නායකතුමාට ආරාධනා කරලා තියෙනද අගමැතිතුමා හැටියට වැඩවරාගෙන මේ තියෙන පොත්තෙන් ගොඩේමට කටයුතු කරා. අපි පැහැදිලි යෝජනාවක් කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ යෝජනාව ඔස්සේ තමයි අපි යන්නේ. ඒක මාධ්‍යවර්තා පළ වෙනවා. එතුමා රනිල් මාතා අගමැතිතුමා ප්‍රමුඛව නව රජයක් බිහි වෙන කාරණේ සම්බන්ධව. ඇත්තද ඒ කාරණේ? ඒක සම්පූර්ණයෙන් වැරදි.
හොඳට මතක තියාගන්න. මේ ප්‍රශ්නයට විසඳුම දේශපාලඥයෝ කල්ලියක් එකතු වෙලා ජනාධිපතිකම් අගමැතිකම් හුවමාරු කරගෙන මැති ඇමතිකම් හුවමාරු කරගෙන රාජ්‍ය ඇමතිකම් හුවමාරු කරගෙන නියෝජ්‍ය ඇමතිකම්.
Changing seats and heads within the government will not solve this crisis. Appointing your henchmen as bureaucrats will also not solve these issues. Do you think you can solve the fuel shortage by swapping government positions internally, or can you solve the gas shortage like that? This political group is using your tax money to entertain their own fellow politicians. In the meantime, you have to stand in queues to purchase your essentials. We don't want to see any more deals between parties. What we need is a party that deals with the citizens of this nation. The people must decide now. They should be given the opportunity to take this decision. It is evident that we need a change, and the people must be given the chance to decide on this change.
ජනතාව තමයි තීන්දුව කරන්න ඕන වෙනසක් සිදු වෙනවා නම් මෙන්න මේකයි වෙනස කියන එක.
How can a man whose party holds one seat in parliament become prime minister? If that can be done, then so be it. But how can Ranil Wickremesinghe stand on the same stance as the leftists? These are planted news. Some people plant news on the internet trying to find their daily wage. Ranil Wickremesinghe is good at planting news. How can one man who holds one seat in parliament become prime minister? Under what constitution and under what law can he do that? No matter how bad the country's situation is, the Rajapaksa brothers will never give up power. Everyone knows that.
Can Ranil Wickremesinghe perform miracles instead of trusting the movement that brought him to power? He was in power from 2015 to 2020. There was a crisis back then. They were defeated by the people. The 11 constituent parties expressed these views when they called on the chief prelate of the Ramanya sect, Most Venerable Makulave Vimala Thero.
News First with the people.
MTV Channel Private Limited has presented 20 interrogatories to Dilip Jayavira, the chairman of George Stewart Health Private Limited, regarding the case filed by George Stewart Health Private Limited against MTV Channel Private Limited.
MTV Channel Private Limited supported an application through its counsel, President's Counsel Udita Egaleheva, and submitted to court that a motion has been filed on the 23rd of March 2022 and 20 interrogatories have been enclosed to the motion while making an application to court to direct Dilip Jayavira, chairman of George Stewart Health Private Limited, to answer the 20 interrogatories. The series of interrogatories, inter alia: Number 1. Did Hiru TV, Aruna newspapers and internet news websites telecast and publish defamatory news items pertaining to the importation of rapid antigen test kits by the plaintiff company, and if so, did the plaintiff company institute legal action, and if so, what are the case numbers? Number 2. Did Dilip Jayavira, the chairman of George Stewart Health Private Limited, institute legal action bearing number DMR 216/2012 in the District Court of Colombo? Number 3. And by the said judgment in the said case, did court hold Dilip Jayavira is not a person with good repute and character? Number 4. Interrogatories further referred to a book launch on the 22nd of March 2019 of a book named Dadabbarya and questioned whether Dilip Jayavira, chairman of George Stewart Health Private Limited, stated in a public audience that he in fact consumes certain types of unlawful drugs and or unlawful contraband. He had to take up the position of chairman because he was going to be imprisoned. Number 6. Further, other interrogatories are: has the plaintiff company been charged in the magistrates court and or high court as an accused? And if so, what are the case numbers? Number 7. Has the plaintiff company been charged for violation of the exchange control rules? And if so, what was the amount paid as penalty and when did the incident occur? Number 8. Has the plaintiff company obtained the necessary approvals from the National Medicines Regulatory Authority prior to the local distribution of rapid antigen test kits? If so, what is the number of the approval? When was the approval granted? And until what date is the approval valid? Number 9. How many bulk consignments of rapid antigen test kits has the plaintiff imported thus far, and how many items has same been imported? Having heard the submissions made by the counsel for MTV Channel Private Limited, Court allowed the application and ordered Dilip Jayavira, chairman of George Stewart Health Private Limited, to answer interrogatories and serve same through instructing attorney Sanath Wijewardena. The case will be taken up again on the 10th of May 2022. President's Counsel Udita Egalaheva with Muru Egalaheva, N.K. Ashok Baran, Damita Karunaratna and Niranjan Arul Prakasam, attorneys at law, appeared for the defendant, instructed by G.G. Arul Prakasam, attorney at law.
Now, in other news here at home, Minister of Transport Dilu Mamanugama said that new train fares may come into effect soon. He made this statement after attending the cabinet meeting today.
These amendments to the fares will not come into effect tomorrow. It may come into effect by the day after tomorrow. It will be a very small price. For example, the current fare for a kilometre within the first 10 kilometres in third class is ₹1.30. That will increase to ₹2. The minimum fare is calculated to 10 kilometres. If you travel the entire 10 kilometres, the total price will be ₹20. The fares are less in comparison to bus fares, but there will be an increase. If you look at the increase as a percentage, it will be about 58%. Since the rupee is low, the increase as a percentage is high. If ₹1 is increased to ₹2, the increase will be 100%. So if you look at the percentage, there is a considerable increase. But the impact is low because the actual increase is only in cents.
The 94th Academy Awards took place at the Dolby Theatre in Hollywood earlier today. Now, this year's Oscars ground to a shocked silence after Will Smith hit Chris Rock on the stage after the comedian made a joke about Smith's wife. greatly.